glad that people of Argentina have access more or less to dollars really widely. I'm glad that they have pretty strong access to stablecoins and Bitcoin. It's not something that people in Malawi have, and I'm glad they have that.
In today's discussion, we delve into the complex economic landscape of Argentina, where the Cheif Strategy Officer of the Human Rights Foundation, Alex Gladstein, sheds light on the country's current challenges. Amidst talks of Bitcoin, dollarization, and economic policies, we explore the central theme of austerity being imposed by the government. Join us as we navigate through the intricacies of Argentina's economic situation and the potential impact on its people.
Bitcoin is a big problem for the government. If they can kill it, if they can end it, move to dollarization, then Bitcoin becomes more palatable. But at the same time, you have that trick where, okay, well, all of a sudden they've lost all kind of sovereign authority.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think it's worth a lively conversation. I mean, there's no black and white, he should do X. Of course, I'd love to see him add Bitcoin as legal tender or, do more Bitcoin stuff. But I mean, as we're seeing now, Bitcoin is something that many of us believe in as a future currency for the world, but it's not ready for prime time. It's not we're seeing a lot of issues with mobile wallets right now. I think they're going to innovate and they're going to get better, but it'd be hard to imagine, 15 to 20 million people in Argentina, starting to use Bitcoin for everything. I think we're on the road to there, and we'll get there. But this is a difficult transition period for many governments in what are in the developing world, right? In the helping world, because they're stuck in a time when their own currency is dying, right? And their control over monetary discretion is sort of dying, and they're looking at the dollar. And look, if they switch to it, they're bestowing more legitimacy to the dollar, more strength to the dollar, more control to Washington. So it's not something necessarily that's like a black and white good thing for these countries. Maybe it's a stop on the way to Bitcoinization. I don't know, but I think it's a good conversation to have, and I'm glad that people of Argentina have access more or less to dollars really widely. I'm glad that they have pretty strong access to stablecoins and Bitcoin. It's not something that people in Malawi have, and I'm glad they have that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me if they, went the dollarization route. They're basically giving up their monetary sovereignty to a foreign nation. It might make sense for them to then consider, why not adopt a money that's controlled by no nation too? It seems like an easy stepping stone. But what I get concerned about is this so-called shock therapy of how they're implementing it seemingly overnight. It's the IMF playbook of currency devaluations, like you said, cutting subsidies, hiking taxes. And the last time Argentina did this, there was mass riots. There was, 7 million people working strike for 24 hours, and they turned violent. And are you worried at all about Milei? I mean, he's going to become deeply unpopular in the country.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, where do they come from? It's been rough. I mean, they've had
that's true.
Essentially one of the highest inflated currencies in the world for decades. I don't know if I think some people have really bought into him being the shepherd to help them guide them through this. And maybe he will. I mean, I certainly hope that people of Argentina are on track to recover and improve. It is concerning, right, that he's going through this austerity, the imposition of austerity. And really, at the end of the day, the imposition of austerity almost requires having this sort of fake currency to do it with. It kind of requires the ability to squeeze the people locally. We'll see. Maybe he's just getting the rate down to the real rate, and then he's going to dollarize, and we're all, I'm a little skeptical. I mean, there's reason to be skeptical here. I think that going to have to curtail a lot of civil liberties to impose this, which I'm watching for. I've seen some things. I want to withhold judgment until I actually see some more concrete stuff, but I'd be worried that he would be employing some force to get this done across the country. Austerity is a tough pill to swallow. Basically it's forcibly shrinking the state. A lot of ANCAPs or hardcore libertarians would say, of course, some of them were showing me the structural adjustment plan, and they were like, this is great. What's wrong with this? And well, besides the currency piece and the taxes piece, what's wrong with this is that, the economy is like a human body, and it's like a living organism. And if you just cut support for the poorest people overnight, they're going to hurt and they're going to die. And this is what happened in so many countries across Latin America, Africa, and Asia in the 1980s and now today. You might not like the idea of subsidizing rice or wheat or meat or bread or milk or petrol or whatever, or medicine. But if you've been brought up in a world where that stuff is very cheap, or it's discounted for you, and then all of a sudden it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times more expensive, and you have the same income as before, we're gonna have real problems, right? So it's not that I don't resonate with the idea of classic liberalism and free trade and individual rights and property rights. These are things I deeply believe in, but you have to understand the human toll of what happens when you overnight, cut some of these things.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very unpopular. Like, just think about America or Britain. If if the British or American government came out tomorrow and said, "Hey, we're ending all support for state education and healthcare issues and platforms and programs," people would be freaking pissed. I mean, if no president could win an election in the United States if they came out and said we're ending support for Social Security or entitlements. So there's a little bit of a friction here, and the problem is really in the end that these poorer nations are forced to scrap this stuff, and the rich nations keep them. So there's this double standard where Britain is never going to say, "Oh, we're going to ditch the NHS. We have too much fiscal spending. We got to tighten our belts here for this austerity." The United States is not going to scrap Social Security. These are not things that rich countries are going to do. Japan's not going to do this, but but the IMF tries to force it on the poor countries, right? So it's not so much that I think that stuff should be subsidized. I don't. The problem, though, is when you have poor countries being forced to get rid of their subsidies and you have the rich countries preserving them. It's a really sinister system.
Yeah, there's an underlying hypocrisy to it,
Totally.
for sure. And I mean, it's just funny when, the United States is running multi-trillion-dollar fiscal deficits and debt to GDP is about 120%. And they're talking about austerity measures with other countries. Now, obviously, there's hyperinflation, and that's what they're really trying to avoid. And I sympathize with the idea of austerity measures. It's really the implementation that concerns me. If they're going to, like you said, cut it out overnight, there will be rising civil unrest, and things could really divulge from there. So he's going to walk a tightrope here. It's going to be very interesting to watch it play out. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Obviously,
just remember he's being. I mean, the IMF's very happy about what's going on there.
They are.
You just need to ask yourself that. If you're all excited about this candidate because you think this candidate's going to bring freedom to this country and individual rights, okay, well, why are they following the prescriptions of this unaccountable alphabet soup organization whose history is built on financial repression? Where's the disconnect here? I think people should explore that. And again, look, I hope that this works out. I hope that he gets them on some sort of track to being a Bitcoin first country. That'd be awesome. I have my doubts, but let's see him prove it.
Yeah, we'll see. They're trying to avoid a 10th default. I think they owe a $900 million payment in December to the IMF. So the IMF, first and foremost, likes to make sure that it gets paid. So
yeah, once it's a pound of flesh. I mean, it wants to make sure that Malay can afford the payment to them. Right. So it's coming in and saying, let's weaken the currency, let's raise taxes, let's cut subsidies. This way, you're going to have more money to pay us. It's not about this way you'll have more money to enrich the local economy, or make things easier for local businesses, or make things easier for pensioners. No. This is the opposite. This is going to be tough for all those people. And a lot of local businesses tend to go out of operations. They go bankrupt in these kind of environments because it's really, really expensive for them to operate. And it's way easier for foreign multinationals who are dollar or euro native to thrive when the local currency is collapsing. So, it's weird. He's kind of saying one thing, about individual freedom. And then on the other hand, he's walking the IMF kind of multinational corporation playbook. So it's a fascinating thing to watch, and we're rooting for our friends down there. But I would be a little careful about any unalloyed utopian interpretations of what's happening there.
Yeah, hopefully they get through this, and hopefully they do bring free markets back and it works out. And my hope is that he just doesn't actively try to restrict Bitcoin adoption, doesn't try to cut off that life raft for them. I think that's maybe what we could hope for right now, rather than legal tender.
Yeah, or stable coins for that matter.
Or stable coins. Yeah, stable coins are very popular there. And so the access to dollars is going to be really important for those people, so that they don't hold pesos and don't get screwed.
Well, it also points out that there's a little bit of chink in this idea that, it's easy for everybody to get dollars. Well, I know it's easier than in Malawi, of course, but it's not, then there'd be no need for stable coins, if
Yeah.
everybody could just get them. And
That's
there's a
true.
huge need. So it kind of shows you there's some demand there for people who, through the normal social framework in Argentina, cannot fully enjoy, dollars, and they're being served by a new invention, which is great. I have my reservations about certainly the current stablecoin model. I think it's fragile. People shouldn't hold that much value in them, but it's hard to deny their utility, especially in a place like that. But look, I mean, it's weird to say, but when you compare Argentina to other nations that are going through similar things, they are better off in some ways because they have this dollar kind of stablecoin Bitcoin infrastructure where it's relatively easy for people to escape the peso. Again, it's not the case for a lot of other countries.
As we conclude this insightful conversation with Alex Gladstein, it's evident that Argentina stands at a crossroads, facing tough decisions with implications for its citizens. The interplay between political choices, economic measures, and the role of emerging technologies like Bitcoin paints a complex picture. We'll continue to monitor these developments, hoping for positive outcomes and considering the broader implications for nations navigating the challenging terrain of financial restructuring and reform. Thanks for tuning into our channel. If you want to learn more about the world's progressing adoption of Bitcoin, watch this video. Here, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more podcast recaps like this every week.